from that. So anyway, welcome. It is May 13th, 2020. I think probably this whole year that none of us will ever forget. My name is Pamela Goodman, and I'm the president and CEO of Ruth's List Florida, the organization that is dedicated to recruiting, identifying, mentoring, training, and helping get elected Democratic pro-choice women at all levels of state government, city and county commission, school board, state legislature, House and Senate, cabinet, and gubernatorial. We started these really immediately after the pandemic set in, because we all know that this business of politics, we laugh about it. It's one that hasn't changed over the years much. It is very much based on transactional one-on-one contact, baby kissing and handshaking. And when all of a sudden that became not a reality of this world anymore, we knew that we had to pivot very quickly and try and do as much as we could to help our candidates get exposed to their voters, their future constituents, and really everybody throughout the state. So again, this is not being broadcast in any specific geographical area. We are a statewide organization, and we do have participants I see from, gosh, a whole bunch of different areas. We have about 50 on the Zoom right now, but as I said, Facebook Living from really all different parts of the state. So welcome this morning to everyone. I like to start these because we want these to be upbeat and positive, and have you hear the messages from the candidates. But I do want to remind everyone of why are we all sitting here in these crazy Zoom rooms, and why has our lives changed so much, and the trend. So just in the last 24 hours before this morning, the number of Florida coronavirus cases increased by 941 individuals, nearly 2.3%. We now are at almost 42,000 in the state of Florida, 41,923. Hospitalizations went up 194, or 2.7% to 7,418. And deaths rose by 44, bringing that, which is 2.5% increase, to a total of almost now 1,800 Floridians that have succumbed to this horrible pandemic. That being said, we've got an election coming up, so it makes it a very bizarre year. And as I said, you know, an election is based on a lot of one-on-one contact with people. So it was reported a lot. I read a lot of the political news very early in the morning, and it's being discussed now a lot about the fact that vote by mail ballots are going to be extremely important in this election. And you know, it's been 5 weeks since Florida's local election supervisors sent really a very urgent request, and both Republican and Democratic SOEs request warning Governor DeSantis about their impending need, and that there really needed to be a plan B in place to prepare for, you know, what we see is going to be an onslaught of that methodology of voting. To date, we have not received an answer from either the governor or the Secretary of State. Some other groups have gotten involved and have asked for additional demands, but so far we've heard really nothing except for the fact that they are reviewing the recommendations. The administration has come up with a plan for how it draws down more than $20 million in federal funding, setting aside for Florida to help elections prepare for the coronavirus elections. But tick tock, the clock is ticking. And we don't have any firm processes in place to ensure that vote by mail ballots will be handled correctly in the amount of increased numbers that we predict. So a reminder to all of you out there, if you've not applied for your vote by mail ballot, now is the time to do so. And you can track it You can apply for it for both the primary and the August election. And you also can track it after you receive it and send it back in to ensure that, that it's counted. This is becoming a really important subject across all of Florida, and one that I think we all need to be aware of as advocates, whether we're supporters or candidates. That being said, I'm going to shut up now about that subject, and so pleased to introduce to you three just unbelievably, outstandingly wise women. Three candidates, all running for State House, Democratic pro-choice candidates, all for different reasons and all coming from different backgrounds. So I'm going to real quickly tell you, and I hope that you really pay attention to their backgrounds, because these women are outstanding in their own rights, and the fact that they have stepped forward to run for the State House of Florida is our good news. I'll start up in the north end of the state, running in House District 9, and some of you know her as Allison Tant. Allison is known as a compassionate and fierce advocate. She is running for the State House because she knows that those without a voice or those facing great odds can and should have a fair and fighting chance to build a good life for themselves and their families, both in Florida and this country. In her childhood home, and she talks about this a lot when you speak with Allison, she learned the value of working hard and standing up for others. She was one of 8 children. Her mother spent her childhood in poverty, picking fruit and tobacco in the fields of North Carolina, literally for pennies. Her father grew up in an orphanage before enlisting in the U.S. Army after Pearl Harbor. Alice's mother made it clear to her family that with her family, she couldn't give much in the way of money, but they gave her grit, determination, and an absolute requirement that Allison get a college degree. That was the one thing her mother made was an absolute. And with that, along with student loans, Allison became the first in her family to go to college. That grit and determination soon drove Allison's passion for standing up for those who came to fight for themselves, beginning with the birth of her son, lovely son, Jeremy, who was born, unfortunately, with complex physical, developmental, and cognitive disability called Williams syndrome. After Jeremy was born, Allison clearly set aside her own career and immersed herself in advocacy for disabled children. She fought tirelessly for reform to pre-K and K-12 education policy, working to provide improved therapeutic and assessment services for students with disabilities. She founded KEYS, the Keys to Exceptional Youth Success, a scholarship program for students with disabilities. And over 14 years, it's raised over $400,000 and awarded 192 scholarships for students with disabilities. Allison has worked with Leon County Schools and Lively Technical College to found an acclaimed summer institute teaching life, social, and independent skills for disabled young adults. Recently, she launched Tallahassee's Independence Landing, a really exciting, wonderful, affordable housing option for adults with a wide range of both cognitive and physical disabilities. Clearly, her passion for helping those who need it most brought her to President Barack Obama's 2008 campaign, when she became one of the campaign's first community organizers. She served on the Victory Trust Committee and chaired the Northwest Florida Alliance Council of the Obama re-election campaign, where she raised over $330,000. She has been a grassroots leader for decades. She served as state chair, which probably most of you know her name from, of the Florida Democratic Party for 4 years, from 2013 through 2017. In that role, she set fundraising records, built a vibrant party with a dedicated professional staff and strong volunteer base. During her tenure, Democrats scored victories across the state and helped build the party's organization in key counties and municipalities. A native Floridian, Allison was born in Jacksonville. She graduated from FSU in should we say the year, Allison? 1983. She lives in Tallahassee with her husband, attorney Barry Richards. They have 5 children and 2 grandchildren. And I could go on and on with a number of other community-based organizations that she is a part of. an outstanding leader, an outstanding public servant, and it's a pleasure to have you here with us this morning, Allison. Thank you.
Well, I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Moving into Central Florida, Tracy Kagan, who is running an HD 29. Tracy is a single mother of 3 daughters. She's a criminal defense attorney for 30 years and currently the Democratic Florida for House District 29. Raised by educators in New York, Tracy went on to work for a public defender and after relocating to Florida, served as a state attorney in Seminole County. She chose Seminole County for its renowned public schools and natural beauty. In 2018, in response to the tragedy of the Stoneman Douglas shooting, she took her 3 daughters to South Florida, and she marched with thousands of others, both men and women, in solidarity. Returning home, she learned that her state representative's solution was to arm teachers. Galvanized to action, Tracy ran in 2018 for the same seat against 3-time Republican incumbent and lost by a razor-thin margin of 1%. But Tracy's a fighter, and she's running again this year to finish the job and flip District 29 in order to protect healthcare, public education, the safety of our children. Her skill set, along with her determination to fight for the rights of people, will provide the leadership that is so lacking in Tallahassee. As I said, she is a single mom of 2 kids and an attorney. She was raised by educators. She cut her teeth as a public defender in New York. She worked to protect unions and collective bargaining. And after moving to Central Florida, raising her 3 daughters, all in public schools, took them to march with her. Tracy, you are a fighter. There's no doubt about it. It was a pleasure working with you and endorsing you in 2018. And we are here to get you across that finish line in 2020. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to be with such accomplished women.
Our pleasure. And last but not least, newly endorsed by Ruthless Florida, and all these women are endorsed by Ruthless Florida, meet Linda Thompson Gonzalez, running in HD 93, which is down in Broward County. Linda Gonzalez is a retired senior Foreign Service officer, attorney, and former Assistant Inspector General for Congressional and Media Affairs at the U.S. Department of State. She has 3 grown children, 6 grandchildren, and she wants to be your voice in Tallahassee to advocate for wiser decisions that will build a better future for everyone. She grew up in the Midwest, like I did too, Linda, we share that. She was in Southwest Michigan and worked as a lifeguard and waitress to earn money for college. She graduated from the College of Wooster, Ohio with a BA in political science after a sophomore in Washington, a semester on Capitol Hill, and a junior year abroad at Bogota University. She then started her career in DC, managing public and congressional affairs of the Office of Minority Business Enterprise at the U.S. Department of Commerce. After law school, her private law practice focused on small business startups. As a community leader and mother of 3, she advocated successfully for pre-K education in the DC public schools. She had historic marks made in many different areas, many areas of legislation, and promoted efforts to remove lead from paint and gasoline, along with other environmental concerns. She joined the U.S. Department of State as an attorney in the Office of Inspector General, and later became the Assistant Inspector General for Congressional and Media Affairs. As an assistant IG, Linda led efforts to provide better management and prevent waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer dollars through ongoing audits and other assorted things. When her children went off to a college, she joined the Foreign Service. Then she joined the Foreign Service, and she served as a public affairs officer in U.S. embassies in Bogota, Montevideo, Buenos Aires, and Lima until her retirement in 2014. As a Foreign Service officer for 14 years, she led multidisciplinary teams to bring training and educational opportunities to students, small businesses, and professionals. As a public affairs officer, she also served as the president of the Fulbright Commission in each county. The Fulbright Commission establishes binational partnerships for student exchanges all around the globe. Linda has 30 years of public service experience. She's never run for office before, but that's the amount of experience that she brings. Competence, credibility, and compassion have been the hallmark of her entire career. She's running to serve as the Florida House District 93 rep to put public service back in practice, to foster decisions that will build a better and healthier future and serve her community's long-term interests rather than short-term special interests. It's really just a pleasure to know you, number one, Linda, and to welcome you here this morning.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be with everyone else here, an impressive group. Thank you so much.
Wise women on this Wednesday morning. So Allison, let me start with you. Let's, I'm sure people are interested in, with all of your backgrounds and everything that you've already accomplished and done, why you're running. What was your aha moment that said, this is where I need to be right now, doing this, running for House District 9? Allison?
Well, I actually had two. So the first aha moment came when, after the Parkland massacre, when I stepped up to actually put the pieces together to help bring the students to Tallahassee. I got buses, I got hotel rooms, I got cots that I personally put together for them to come. I wanted their voices heard. I was listening to an NPR interview with one of the students, and I thought these kids need to be in Tallahassee. And I put up on Facebook, if I have to bring them here myself, I'll figure out a way to do it, and I will. And next thing I knew, I had all these people helping, and knowing that they needed to be heard and knowing how easily they could have been dismissed. I was determined to do that. And about the same time, our senator here thought he was going to talk about running for mayor, which would open up, and my House member was going to run for his seat. It would open up his seat. And it was my first moment where I never thought I would run for office before, that I thought, wow, I will run for office because I want to be that voice. So that was the first aha moment. He did not end up running for mayor. And I decided I was going to run. He's termed out and he's wonderful. And Loran Osley is running for his Senate seat. So I'm running for the seat she currently holds. My second aha moment came when in working with Independence Landing and trying to find a solution for long-term housing for people like my son, who's among the first generation of people who are going to routinely outlive their parents with these kinds of disabilities. And knowing and working with so many of these other families that have no options, no help, no resources, and knowing and running into folks who've had just the struggle so much worse than my own, I just felt compelled that I had to step up and do something, because I knew that these issues would not be addressed. I couldn't take the chance that they wouldn't be addressed. So that's why I decided to run.
Great, thank you. Tracy, what was your aha moment? You're muted, Tracy. Yeah, unmute yourself.
Okay, there we go.
There you go. There you go.
All right. I had several moments. I mean, I would say I grew up very politically involved from an armchair, from an MSNBC watcher. But my real aha moment came also with the Parkland massacre. I have three daughters, all of which have gone through Seminole County public schools. And after that happened, we went down to South Florida and we marched in solidarity. And when we came back, I sat at a table, a kitchen table, with a group of women who were very concerned about the gun safety issue in Florida, specifically in Seminole County with the schools. And they were talking about the state representative. And first of all, to be quite honest, I didn't even know who it was. He never made himself known. But his position was, and his only position was in response, was to arm teachers. I'm the daughter of a teacher. My sister's a teacher. I can't imagine them being armed. And I said, that's ridiculous. There has to be something else we could do. And so very glibly, I said to the group, I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to run for office. And we all laughed and chuckled, and I went home. And then later on that week, I cannot recall who reached out to me, but I got a touch and someone said to me, would you really run for office? I was very nervous, because, you know, politicians to me were always on the other side of the screen. I never thought they were human. And quite frankly, I had a meeting with my daughters, all teenagers, and they were like, you know, do whatever you want to do. You know how teenagers. So I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to rise to the occasion. If I can speak in a courtroom, I'm going to finally have a venue where I can put my views out there and help people. You know, I advocate for people all the time. My whole career has been advocating for the underdog. And so I said to myself, it's time that someone stood up, and why can't I be that person?
Mhm.
So I'm 58 years old. I'm putting it out there. I stepped into the political arena. I had fabulous mentors. I had Ruth Sliss, I had Amy Mercado, I had Anna Escamani. I touched every resource, and I became an advocate for my district. And in doing so, learned about all the other issues that affects us on every level. You know, local politics is really what affects us. What happens on the national scene is very important, but what happens on the local scene affects our daily lives.
Right.
And that is why I'm running. I'm running to protect my mother, who pays $900 a month in prescription health drugs. I'm running because when I get home and I don't want to see those code yellows and code reds on the phone from my daughter's school. I'm running because people need representation, and they're not getting leadership. They're not getting leadership in Tallahassee. The gentleman I'm running against really doesn't have his ear to the ground. He's never been in one town that I represent at all. He's not accessible. And I think the key to being a good leader is being accessible. So my aha moment has led me in my late stage in life to a fabulous career. And I am so excited because I meet such strong, wonderful, dedicated people who really want to make change. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that team.
Great. Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you.
Linda, with your esteemed background, how the heck did you get motivated, and what was your aha moment to say at this point in time in life, this is what I want to do down in Broward County?
Yeah, well, I realized, you know, with all this going on, this is no time to rest. We got to go back to work. It's really all about my children and my grandchildren and growing up in a small town. You know, we all work to help each other, and we made a better life by helping each other. We knew that we would all be better if we did well for others. And when I retired from the Foreign Service, I came back to Florida. You know, I was overseas when President Obama was our president, and he was leader of the world. People celebrated our win as their win. And when I came back, you know, I worked in Hillary's campaign, and my husband then, Pedro Gonzalez, was very ill with cancer, and I lost him a few years ago. But I'll never forget, all during that campaign, he said, you know, if Hillary doesn't win, nothing else matters. So you go out and you work for her. And I did. And, you know, we lost that campaign. I started volunteering to train canvassers. I was a volunteer to help train canvassers to go out and register voters and, you know, really listen to the voters and listen to our concerns. And so, you know, my entire life, my children, you know, I'd raised them to be strong environmentalists and to be active in the community. But I suddenly realized with my grandchildren, all that I worked for to help them, you know, I can help them get to college and I can help them have good lives. But if they're living in a world where the rules of the game are just set against most, you know, hardworking families and small businesses, the town I grew up in, we had small businesses, our friends and neighbors, and, you know, hardworking families. We could all work together to make our lives better. But I suddenly realized that the world that my grandchildren are growing up in, it didn't matter if they could not save their environment. You know, the sea level rise here in Florida, we're ground zero for sea level rise. The other thing that really hit home is after Parkland. So many of us have mentioned that. But after Parkland, you know, that was so much in the news. And in Tallahassee, you know, Tallahassee's decisions affect our lives so dramatically. And there were preemption rules, preempting local communities from making laws that would protect our children. And my oldest, I have 6 grandchildren, the oldest is 7. And I was talking to my youngest grandson, and he said, Grandma, I'm going to get shot if I go to school. And I couldn't sleep for weeks. I just was stunned. And at that point, I realized that with this race in District 93, we have an incumbent. It's the last red district in Broward County. You know, so goes Broward County, so goes Florida, so goes the country. And I just looked at myself in the mirror and I said, lady, you are going to go back to work. You are going to fight. You are going to fight for your grandchildren. You are going to fight for all of us. And so, as we know, it's very difficult, but, you know, from working around the globe, we know it's always the women. If we give aid to countries, it's always the women who save the communities, because they know if we give aid to women, it will get to the families. It will save the families. And so it is here in Florida. You know, we're all going to go to Tallahassee. We're all going to make changes there and make our lives better.
Mm-hmm.
True, true. Absolutely. Thank you, Linda. I'll remind everyone that women still in the state of Florida and in the country make up 52% of the population, yet still only represent 24% of people serving in elected office, from school board, city, county commission, all the way up to presidential. So even though that percentage has been rising, it hasn't been rising fast enough. I'll remind everyone also that in 2018, the Democrats flipped 8 seats in the House, and 7 of those seats that we flipped were women, and we flipped 1 House in the Senate, and that Senate seat was Janet Cruz, a Roots candidate. So perfect segue. Thank you. It's the women that, certainly in the Democratic Party, it's the women that are stepping forward and not only are getting elected, but that freshman group up there in the House and in the Senate has shown, even though they're still sitting in the back and they're still in the minority, they have shown unbelievable fierceness and fight for the tenets that they believe in, whether it's our land and our water, or our public education, or women's choice, or universal health care, you know, all safe gun legislation. Just a very fierce new voice up there, and it's refreshing and wonderful. But it is the women that we're hearing from out there. Not that we don't have great men that are like as well, working in tandem with them, but our women really are making a difference. Which leads me to my next question. So most women, when they're asked to run for office, it typically takes someone asking them 4 times before they say yes. Someone's done a big survey on this somewhere. Men typically have to be asked once, and they make up their mind, and typically they say yes when they're asked. The reason that women, it takes 4 times for them to really make up their mind to run is because they usually have a very specific problem. And it can be as simple as running for your city commission because there's a crack in the sidewalk that every day you walk your baby walker over it, and that sidewalk crack hasn't been fixed in 5 years. And this is a true story. And women get frustrated with it, and they end up on one side of the dais versus the other, and they say, I have to get elected to like fix this problem. All the way up to major problems of better testing for breast cancer, and better protective measures for breast cancer, and just a whole sundry of different issues. But if I were to ask you, Allison, what problem are you going to tackle first? What problem or problems? We have a lot of them, and more have come up certainly in the last 8 weeks. But what problem do you really want to solve? What's that fire in your belly?
Well, the compelling issue for me, I mean, is it's going to be in the human services area. My mother lived with me for the last 10 years of her life. I saw what happens directly to our seniors. My son, I have 3 kids who've all gone to public schools, and I walked the halls with the Moms Demand Action with 2 girls from Rickards who said that Rickards is in our community in the most concerning area for gun violence. And they said my classmates only get a break in the action from guns at school, and the last place we need to see guns is in the hands of teachers. It's the only break they get, and we got to do that. The other really compelling reason for me to run is because of the lack of support and resources for families like mine, for the 54,000 Floridians who don't have any resources, who are living day to day with people with cognitive and other disabling conditions in their household. And the fact that it is the agency for certain persons with disabilities, not all persons with disabilities, we get no information. I've been advocating for families like this, not just in Tallahassee, but across the state for a long time. And it's really a system that actually breaks people before it helps people. And that is something that I can't tolerate. I have to get in and help people that don't have some of the resources, a supportive husband, things like that, and maybe a child with far more disabilities than my own. I worked to correct issues in the Department of Education's rules and regulations for years. It's just something that I feel compelled to address for folks that just don't even know where to start when they've been presented with their beautiful child in their arms, who's going to face a life with the cards stacked against them from day one till the day they die.
Right. It's a good enough reason.
Yeah, gets me fired up, clearly.
Clearly. Tracy, if I were to ask you the same question, what's fire in your belly? What is the problem that you want to first tackle and solve?
All right. Well, first of all, that's a big oy. Second of all, I just want to say, you know why women are strong? Because women know how to multitask. That's what we multitask. We can make call time, answer the phone, throw a load of laundry in, and unload the dishwasher all at one time. That's why women are good in government. Plus, women, I think, and I love men, don't get me wrong, but women have that gene for compassion. We are compassionate people and nurturers. And I think that's what it is. I think we think it's our turn to really step up. And that's why I implore others to do so. But fire in my belly. What gets me going? What gets me going? I have a couple of issues. One is the gun safety. I do have a daughter who just started high school, my last one. I do get the code reds and the code yellows. I'll be in court. I'll see my phone flash. That terrifies me. We need to do something about this gun epidemic. I'm also a Moms Demand candidate, and I do believe that we need gun safety measures across the board. And I'm running against someone who's A-rated by the NRA. Tallahassee has been held in a vice. The NRA has been given so much power in Tallahassee that they are controlling what happens in our schools. And that scares me, terrifies me. That's one. The other one that's really important to me is healthcare. I mean, I pay $1,100 a month for a healthcare plan. That's ridiculous. I'm a sole proprietor. I'm a single mother with 3 daughters. I have an 86-year-old mother who pays almost $900 a month for prescriptions, or I help her pay in any way I can. I mean, we live in the land of plenty and people are going without. So we live in a time right now. Let's look at what we live at. We have a pandemic going on, a terrible pandemic, and we don't have health care for a lot of the people that are suffering from this. And then my most recent pet peeve is this disgusting unemployment situation that's going on in Florida. The fact that, what do we have? 30% or 25% now unemployment across the board, but we have unemployment so high in Florida. The fact that I'm getting calls and I'm not even an elected official yet, asking me how to access the unemployment in my area. The fact that I am a small business owner and I'm suffering, and I know others are suffering, living hand to mouth, and the fact that our own legislature won't think it's serious enough to have a special session to get together to do something about it. I find that disgusting. I find that abhorrent. And I find that the legislators are ignoring the plight that people are in. When you have to choose between, going to work in a pandemic or feeding your family, and you have no money, it's a terrible situation to be in. So that's my recent fire in my belly. So that's my answer.
That's a good fire. And by the way, thank you to all 3 of you who I know, one of my adages is always, you don't wait to be given leadership, you just take leadership. And all 3 of you have taken on leadership, even in your candidacies in this epidemic. trying to help your future constituents as much as you possibly can, whether it's unemployment or the EIDL or the PPP loans or any of the other issues that are coming out of this. So I commend you, and I'm glad you brought that up, Tracy. Thank you to all of you. Laura, your problem that you're going to address on day one, what is your driving fire in your belly?
Hi, Pamela. Well, it's been a growing list, you know, every day that COVID goes on. And I think we've certainly hit on it. Certainly the gun safety issue. I mean, for our children, for our grandchildren, I've been canvassing, you know, when we could go out, I started canvassing and talking to people in September. And gun safety, as well as the sea level rise, were top of the list. People were eager to talk about it, and those are the two issues that are really most affecting us here in District 93. The gun safety, our legislature failed to act on it again this session. Universal background checks closed the gun show loophole, but the other issue, of course, the overriding issue is the one of the sea level rise. There is no plan really in Tallahassee. They've been talking about it. Our local government has an excellent 4-county program for resiliency, but in Tallahassee, we need the resources and the overarching focus, statewide focus that Tallahassee can bring. And there's no plan. You know, many cities and counties have declared themselves to follow the Paris Accords, you know, to set goals to be carbon neutral by 2040 or 2050. We haven't, you know, they've been talking a lot about it. There's no plan. But I think recently in this, and those are issues that we must address. We must have gun safety legislation to protect all of us. We must have a plan of action to address sea level rise. But right now, as I'm looking in this COVID, people are afraid to go to the hospital. And Tracy just mentioned, and Allison too, the issue of our Medicaid. Florida is the state in the country with the third largest number of uninsured people, 2.7 million. And right now, Medicaid is the Republican GOP. Florida is part of the states that are suing to get, you know, to undo our Affordable Care Act. So they would take away our pre-existing condition protections, the ability of 26-year-olds to stay on their parents' insurance. You know, the Affordable Care Act protects us from the co-pays and so on. Right now, in the middle of this crisis, this GOP in Florida is trying to take that away from us. It's unforgivable. So every day, there is a new fire in my belly. And I have to say, we have extraordinary male workers and leaders and representatives from Broward County. And I don't want to say that we don't, and thank you for coming back to that earlier, but we have got to get to work in Tallahassee and set things right for gun safety, address sea level rise with a plan, a basic plan, and also address Medicaid. You know, with a stroke of the pen, our governor could give almost 800,000 Floridians the preventive health care they need. And the point is, you know, as a former inspector general, it would save all of us billions of dollars, because when people are uninsured, the hospitals charge them whatever they wish, and then that is written off from our tax base. So our tax dollars, we're not only leaving on the table the federal dollars that would pay for our friends and neighbors' health care, but we're losing the billions of dollars in savings that would accrue to all of us Floridians if we did the right thing. You know, in the long end, as whether you're working for a small business or in a community to help working class, hardworking families, you do the right thing and everyone does well. And what we've seen in Tallahassee under this leadership is time and time again, they've made a short-term solution that really hurt everybody. And we've got to stop that. We've got to start working for all of us. Healthcare, gun safety, and protect our property that is being threatened by sea level rise. Sorry, I don't mean to get so animated, but I have a fire in my belly, and it's
Yes, you do. Okay.
Just we have to start getting things right in Tallahassee. Thank you.
It's so true. And, for over 20 years, the Democrats have been in the minority. And many of us have been up there at rallies and advocating and meeting and using everything that we can to work for the expansion of Medicaid, for instance, or to work for the protection of our public schools, or to work especially after Pulse and Parkland on safe gun legislation. It's one of the reasons that I'm in this job here today. I was past president of the League of Women Voters, and I finally came to the conclusion, until we change the people that are sitting in the seats up there, legislation is not going to change. And that's why it's so crucial that all three of you ladies are doing what you're doing.
Pamela, I have to give a shout out to our Moms Demand Action for Gun Safety.
Fabulous group.
I went to Tallahassee with them, and that was an extraordinary moment. And it's such an effective organization, as you say, full of individuals who know how to present the issues and know how to fight.
They do. They're a powerhouse. To kind of just to switch it up, and then we're going to move into some closing comments. But Melissa McKinley, who is a Palm Beach County Commissioner, she joins us on Wednesdays. She has been for the last few weeks, and welcome, Melissa. She's asking a question in the chat box. She's been in elected office now down here. She is a single mother. And she's saying, how many times have you been asked, how will you serve in Tallahassee and still manage your family? She mentions one of her pet peeves, when she was running was, of course, the men are never asked that question, but the women are. Have you been broached with that question? And if you have been, what's your response?
I've been asked that question. I'm a single parent with 3 daughters, and I have an 86-year-old mother and a criminal law practice. So you can't always put people on hold when they're in jail. And I get that question asked to me, how are you going to do it? And I just look at them. I don't have a response. How am I not going to do it? Right? How am I not going to serve? My youngest one is 15. I'm going to stick her in the house with my mother, who's 86. I'm going to give them phones, and we have Skype, we have FaceTime. I have a secretary, and I'm going to multitask, and I'm going to do what I need to do. I find it unequal that they don't ask men that question. That is so true. Men don't get asked that question. They don't worry about who's taking care of the home. We're just going to get it done. We get it done. And yes, I've been asked that question.
Right. I'm sure she'll appreciate that answer. Okay, ladies. So as we head into these elections, what do you need? You're all running fabulous campaigns. You've been endorsed by Ruth's List. What do you need from everyone who's listening in or watching this to make sure that we get you across that victory line in November?
Well, this is Allison. I'm going to be begging people to request their vote by mail ballot. From my perspective, that is the most important thing. I don't know how we're going to vote in person this cycle. And so I'm going to be sending, in fact, I've already started with my last email to my supporters and to anybody. I'm going to be asking people to request their ballots. My supervisor just this week sent a postcard to every household in Leon County. What he said in fact, I was checking this earlier. What he said on his postcard is, if you wait till July, we will not have time to to process every ballot. So I am going to be doing a full court press to ask people to get their ballot request in now and not wait till the end. So that's going to be my big push.
Extremely important. What we talked about at the beginning of this, and we need to hold feet to the fire from our governor especially, but also our Secretary of State. Tracy.
Okay, well, obviously vote by mail. We made we're doing a lot of, since we can't canvass and knock on doors the old fashioned way, we're going about it with social media. So we are doing a lot of posts about vote by mail. We're sharing. I'm asking everyone out there to share. If you see something with my name on it, share it, because everybody has 6 degrees of separation. I am also imploring anyone who wants to help our campaign. You can do phone banking from anywhere. And we're doing phone banking to touch people the way that we used to canvass. So we're being creative. We're phone banking NPAs. That's going to be our swing vote in my district. The Super Dems are coming out, God knows. And so we're focusing on NPAs. And the other thing, of course, is an ask. And you know, women always get this hard part. You know, it's hard for us to ask for money, but I don't care. I'm asking for money. I'm telling you, my campaign is powered by people like you and I, people who wait at the bus stop, people who go to CVS, people who shop at Publix, $5, $10. And I know it's a hard ask because money is tight now, but we need money for mail because we can't canvass and we can't do it the old fashioned way. So vote by mail, phone banking, and any dollar amount, go to kaganfortracy.com. A shameless plug, but I'm taking it. Thank you.
As you should.
Thank you.
And,
Hi, thank you. Well, I think we've mentioned the three things. Fortunately, I was able to just get on the ballot by petition, so we turned those in. So that was a huge push and wonderful volunteers to help do that. The thing I need really are three things, have been mentioned. Clearly we need, I love canvassing door to door, knocking, talking to people. So we need to continue the virtual knock on doors with telephone calls. We need volunteers to help do those phone banks and call people, introduce me to our voters around the district. Secondly, people can host Zoom calls in their neighborhoods. People can do Zoom calls in their buildings or call their groups of friends so that I can get on those and have candidate chats and town halls with different groups of our voters. And last of all is the I need campaign donations. I'm asking people to donate. This is 2020. Let's make 2020 a reset in Tallahassee for all of us. People can give 2020. That will help pay for the ever important, our mailings, our digital outreach, and so much more, because we need to get the message out. I'm running up against an incumbent who's well known in the district, and I need those resources to get our message out that we've got to go to work for people in this district, make things better.
right.
So those three things.
Really good point, because a lot of times people, we do the ask and people understand that they're supposed to give to these campaigns dollars, but a lot of times they don't, what do you all need all this money for? What do you do this money for? And it's real clear. All of you have very large districts, probably 150,000 plus. And no matter what even in normal times, forget about that pandemic times, you can't physically touch every single one of those voters out there. So you need digital to touch them. You need mail, even from the amount of time that it comes from them taking that flyer out of their mailbox, and they're going to walk straight to the garbage can, throw it in the garbage can. People don't save them and look at them on voting days. We know that that's a reality. But something resonates in that mail piece about you and what you stand for, and you're touching that voter. It's a huge pivot. The fact that all of you, we will not be able to be out there doing door-to-door canvassing. You may be able to do, some door drops, so some pamphlets, and we're testing some things here at Ruthless to maybe try and help you on how we pivot that into something then that is a little bit more virtual. But clearly that is a very large part of any campaigns program, any candidates campaigns program. It's mostly run by volunteers. And now that has to flip to digital and to reach those people digitally, and that costs money. That is not free. Volunteers are free. We love them. We feed them. But that was an unplanned expense line in your budget that no one could have predicted at the beginning of this election cycle. And people really have to understand that. So I can only reiterate that if you can volunteer, great. The absentee ballot is absolutely a priority. But if anything that these three women have said to you this morning that have hit you and you agree with, please go to their websites, and I'm going to give them a chance to tell you where those are again. You can always go to Ruthless Florida, ruthlessfl.org, and you can look under our candidates. All these ladies are there, and all the rest of we've endorsed 60 women up to this point in time at all levels of office. You click on their picture and their name, and it'll take you directly to their website where you can learn more about Allison, more about Tracy, more about Laura, and hopefully hit that donate button, give them the money that they need. But ladies, if we could just go around one last time, if someone does want to do whatever they can to help you or donate to you, what is the best way to contact you? Allison?
I put my personal and my campaign email on there, and I'm also, I can give you my cell number, 850-251-6040. But allisontant@gmail.com is very direct. So I'm happy to have any help I can get. I did qualify by petition as well, and that was really fun. But I also wanted to say before I quit, it's like, it has been an honor to meet you, Tracy, and you, Linda. You guys are just, I'm excited about who you are, and the thought of being able to potentially serve with you if we're all three elected is just very exciting to me. So
Get on that bus.
thank you so much, Pamela, for putting this together. This is awesome. So
Absolutely. Thank you, Allison. Tracy?
Okay, so you can just type in my name, Tracy Kagan, TracyKagan, Kagan for Florida. My cell, 407-538-8885. I am accessible always, 24/7. Call me. I'd love to hear from you. And I want to just have a shout out to Ruth's List, who made me the candidate that I am today because of all the training, because of all the guidance. And believe me, you know, all the finishing touches, they have really inspired me and so many women to get off the sides and to step into the arena to fight the good fight. So come and talk to me. I'm accessible. I love to chat, and thank you all. And thank you, ladies. I'm surrounded by such diligent, hardworking, strong women. I love it. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Tracy. Laura?
Linda Thompson Gonzalez, and I'm
so sorry.
No, it's fine. I just put up, and I have this, I say Linda Thompson Gonzalez with a Z for 93, and I emphasize it's the Z is
right.
and because Gonzalez can be spelled many ways, but it says Linda Thompson Gonzalez with a Z for 93, and it's www.lindathompsongonzalez.com. And I also, Pamela, I would like to second the thanks to Ruth's List. You know, it was very daunting to look in the mirror that day and say, okay, I'm going to do this. And it was thanks to the Ruth's List people who first stepped forward. Emma Cullum, who has done a phenomenal job here locally. And I said, Emma, we need to get somebody younger and more dynamic. And she looked at me and she said, and I will never forget that day, and thank Emma and the other women in Ruth's List, Laura Hernandez, you know, I'd keep and Kate McCoy, keep getting these calls. Linda, I'm from Ruth's List. I'm going to help you with this, with your financial plan, with your call. I just keep getting these calls from these wonderful women who were there to help and support and get me on track to have a successful campaign. And, you know, you never feel like you're out there alone. There's a resource, there's somebody there ready to help you. And when this is your first time out there, even though you know worked in many other campaigns, it is different when you're out there campaigning. It's a hard pass. So I thank you, Pamela. I thank Ruth's List. I thank all the extraordinary women. And I have to give a shout out also to all of the extraordinary men who are out there supporting us and working hard, our state senator, you know, and our many of our representatives in Tallahassee. We are so blessed in Broward to have good mentors, good leaders, and good footsteps to stand with. So a lot to do between now and November, but I thank you all so much. I'm in awe of you too, Allison and Tracy, and thank you so much for this opportunity. So it's Linda Thompson Gonzalez with a Z for 93.
Perfect. Thank you, Linda. And you are absolutely right. Some of our best supporters are men. They said, look, we get it, ladies. We've had this, we've kind of had this, and how's this working out for us? Not so well. So here you go. So we love our men, and we love our male supporters, especially. So thank you. I want to wish all three of you the best of luck in your campaigns. I hope that today you'll hear from a lot of people that got introduced to you for the first time. You know that we are always here. Everyone should know that Ruthless, we work with any pro-choice Democratic woman that's running for state office, but only a percentage that we work with and work really, really hard to really get a clear path to victory are the ones that we end up endorsing. And all three of these ladies, we proudly say that we are happy to endorse you and wish you the best in your victories in 2020, along with everything else that you're dealing with. So Linda, Tracy, Allison, thank you so much for your time this morning. We'll get this video out to you, and you can do with it what you want on your website. And I hope you hear from a lot of people that were on the Zoom this morning. All of you supporters, thank you for tuning in to Wednesday, Wise Women Wednesdays. Next Wednesday, which will be the 20th, I'm pleased to announce that we'll be joined by Congresswoman Val Demings.
Awesome.
For an hour conversation with Val. So mark that on your calendars. Tune in. The invite will be coming out probably in the next couple of days or so. Ladies, love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Out there.
I'm calling all you.
Yay.